Am I making a mess? Oh. Like, I'm trying to be as clean as possible this time. Hi, I'm Vanessa with Community Natural Foods. Today we're back with you to do a keto dessert. The one we're going to do today is going to be a no-bake cheesecake with a raspberry sauce. We're going to make them in these nice cute little cups so that you can kind of have them as a snack. All right, so we're going to start with the raspberry sauce. We're going to take our raspberries, pop them in this pan here. We're going to put it around a medium heat. That way it can slowly reduce and it'll be not boiling and you have less of a chance of burning it. With our raspberries, we're going to add some Swerve. Swerve is a sugar replacement. It's used in a keto diet so that it doesn't have as much carbohydrates in it as regular sugar. You can adjust the amount of sugar that you want to use in Swerve, You can adjust the amount of sugar that you want to use in the recipe to see how much sweetness you want or not. With the Swerve and the raspberries, we're going to be adding in the lemon juice. Lemon juice is going to kind of act as a balancing agent for the sugar and the raspberries for the tartness. So we're going to let that sit there and reduce for a little bit and come to a boil. I like to keep the seeds in. You can decide whether or not you want to strain out your seeds once it's been fully cooked. I'm going to turn the temperature up just a tad here to about a medium to high. As you can see, it's coming to a boil here, and the raspberries have kind of broken down. So we're going to turn this temperature down and just let it simmer. So I'm putting it on like a low to medium heat here. It's sitting at around, I want to say, 195 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just going to let that reduce. It's up to you on how much you want it to reduce. It'll affect the thickness of the product. But for this, because we're just putting it in little cups, I think the less thick it is, the better. So once the sauce is done, you're going to want to set it to the side and let it cool. And while it's cooling, we can move on to our other part of the dessert, which is going to be the cheesecake. All right, so we're going to start with the cheesecake. Today I am using Vital Greens cream cheese and crème fraiche. You can use either crème fraiche or sour cream for this recipe. I prefer to use crème fraiche. It does have a higher fat content in it, so if you're doing the keto diet, it's a little bit better for you. So we're going to start off by adding the cream cheese to our bowl, and we're going to sift in the Swerve sugar replacement. Again, this is something that you can adjust the amount that you use, especially for this recipe, because you don't really necessarily need to use all of the sugar. It's not going to affect it at all. All right, so we're going to beat up the icing sugar and the cream cheese, and you're going to want to get it so that it's really smooth and no lumps in there. You want this to be really, really smooth before you add in your crème fraiche, because you don't want to do much whipping after that. Otherwise you run into the chance of it separating. So you want to ensure that you have the smoothest with the cream cheese and the Swerve. All right. So I think that's good. Alright, so you can kind of see how nice and smooth it is here. There's minimal lumps in there, so that's great. The more you scrape down and whip up the cream cheese and the sugar, the smoother it's going to get, and it's also going to get a little bit more liquid. But this is a really good consistency, so it's kind of thick, but not too thick. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our crème fraiche. We're going to whisk this very gently. Whisk that together. All right. So just like that. Just really fast. Don't overdo it. As I said before, it will have the potential of separating. All right, so we'll pop that, set that aside. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna whisk up and beat our whipping cream. So the whipping cream is gonna add some lightness to this so that it's not so heavy and dense. As you know, I really like to whip things by hand, as we had discussed before. Let's just do this. You're gonna wanna bring the peaks to a medium soft. I never like to over whip my cream or my whites because then it has that potential to separate or curdle, and that's not a very good texture to have on your palate. It is a great way to make butter. I once did make butter in my KitchenAid at home. I put it on to whisk up my cream, and I set it and forget it, and then I had a really delicious sweet butter, and with the whey kind of separating out from it, I had water everywhere in my kitchen. It was really embarrassing, especially for the fact that I'm a trained pastry chef. So I learned my lesson, and that's why I do it like this. You can see that kind of nice soft peak. You can see where the whisk has made its movement. You're gonna wanna stop there. All right. We'll bring back our cheesecake mix. We're gonna fold in a little bit of lemon juice, and then we're gonna also put some lemon zest in there. So you want a really nice clean lemon. I prefer to use a microplane. It gets really nice and a fine zest. Be careful. These things are really sharp, so if you're going through a cheese grater has nothing on a microplane. So you're gonna rotate. You don't wanna get too deep into the rind because that's where you get that kind of bitter taste. So you wanna keep it really on the level. So I like to rotate through. We're gonna do about a teaspoon. Fold that in together, and you can see how fine that lemon zest is in there. We're gonna fold in our whipped cream. So pull that out, pop that in. You can just do this in one fold because it's such a small amount. If you're gonna do a larger batch, I would suggest doing it in two just so that you don't overmix your cream. But because this is so small, it's no big deal. So you can see that kind of cheesecake texture that you have in there. And that's it, that's the cheesecake. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna pipe them into our little jars. One trick I really like to use for getting things into my pastry bag, this thing, pop your hand through and fold it over a measuring cup or a glass mason jar, whatever you want. This will make it less messy for you, and then you can portion it out easier. Go. And always twist the top in the way that you're gonna hold it. And that'll keep it nice and clean there. Next one, we're gonna put in our chilled raspberry sauce here. I'm using these little glass jars from Riviera Yogurts, and we also sell the lids, so it's really nice to kind of have a little snack that you can put a little lid on. So we're going to start with the cheesecake, and you're going to make your the hole to your piping bag. I don't know, maybe half an inch up the pastry bag. So we're gonna pipe those in, and you can see you can get it do it really fast. When I hold a pastry bag, I hold it at the base of it and get my hand on, and you want to use your opposite hand to guide it, and that'll give you kind of a little bit more control. Put your raspberry in there. With these, it's nice when they're a little bit messy. Doesn't matter how much goes in there because they're just going to be really tasty. And the whole point is for them to be a little abstract looking. Pipe those in there. They're going to get thicker as you refrigerate them, so depending on the thickness that you're looking for, it's how long you kind of want to beat them for. But this is kind of what they look like, and you can top it off with fresh raspberries or strawberries and a mint leaf, even some whipped cream to kind of break up that flavor. So. This is my favorite summertime keto dessert. Please share in the comments below what your favorite summertime keto dessert is, and we'll have a conversation about it. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will be back with you soon.